Welcome to Satsang. Stephen Hawking made a statement, I think it was quite recent, wasn't it? And he said that there's proof that there is no God. And he's a cosmologist, he's a brilliant mind, he's written many books. So his word was taken quite seriously, and a few people wrote me and they were quite disturbed and they wanted me to explain. So what I'd like to do today is, for the sake of the people that asked the questions and for all of us to share, to make it interactive. That truth is very simple. When we lose, when we doubt, we really doubt our true nature. And your true nature is the closest thing to you, the most obvious thing there is. And once we get to know it, then of course doubts will not arise anymore. Okay, so let's make it very direct, very simple. But I'd like your participation as we go through it, okay? In order to prove truth, or rather to make it very clear what the truth is, it's very simple. You exist. Just feel that. You exist, you exist, you exist. I exist. Okay? Now, let's move it a little along. There are 7 billion humans on this earth. They all exist. There are all the animals we know, all living things exist. So what is it that they all have in common?
Life force.
Okay? So we can call it existence, the life force, right? So existence is what everybody has. But what is existence? Did it have a beginning? We know intuitively it cannot have had a beginning, because if it had a beginning, who began it? Right? Here we are. So the very fact that we exist is itself one of the most direct indications of the truth of our being. So existence exists. But here is the thing. Existence itself. Is it something? Is it an existing thing? Is existence existing? What do you feel?
Existence is.
And you stop right there, right? Existence is. It has always been and always will be. The very nature of existence is. And that is its glory and its beauty. And that means the very nature of it is oneness, because there isn't one human being, one living thing that is not part of the whole. How can it be otherwise? Because everything is a living or existing being. You see? So oneness is what it's all about. That oneness, because we are all one, interconnected, interdependent, interrelated, is called love. We see that, right? You see that, for example, in relationships. You know, practically every client that comes to see me, especially if it's a woman who happens to be single, they're really hoping to meet someone to fall in love with, to have someone in their life. It's natural, it's normal. We all want love. The only problem is, because we don't know who we are, we need love. And did you know that needing love, which is needing oneness, which is needing the pure experience, existence, is itself what creates all the problems? All the problems known to humanity, all the suffering, is needing that which you already are. And that's what we're doing all the time. You see? So, so unless we get in touch with existence as the very nature that we are, then we'll always live in doubt and uncertainty, because we make it something outside of us. Now, did Stephen Hawking make a mistake? No. He based it on the study of cosmology. He studied the heavens, and he found there's no physical evidence of God. And that's understandable because there is no physical evidence. You see, existence itself it's not a thing. You cannot find it. There is no way that you can locate it or say it's there or it's here. It just is, you see. It's a totality, it's a wholeness. It is you itself. And so we can call it God. Now many of us have been brought up in certain religious beliefs that we prayed to God as someone or something outside of us. And the moment we think of it as something outside of us, we separate from the very thing and nature that we are. And so when we study the psychology of emotional illness, this is what it is. Emotional negativity, emotional pain. Whether it's a minor form of anxiety or a very advanced form of schizophrenia, it doesn't matter. It's all a separation from the very God that we are. You see, from that oneness, from that love, from the very nature of being. Now, 2 weeks ago we discussed how this was a study made only in the States, and of course this probably is with the whole world. And the Health and Welfare Department of the United States said that 25% of the people in the United States are mentally or emotionally unhealthy, and less than 1/3 are normal. That's quite a statement. And then of course they said because it has to do with stress. Now what is stress? Nobody tells you what stress is, right? You go to a doctor, they give you drugs, maybe a relaxant, or but what is stress?
Race with time.
Yeah, it has to do with time, yes. Yes, because all problems come from time, aren't they? Anxiety, future, right? Regret, past. Guilt, past. Fear, future. So we keep taking the past into the future, the conditioning into the future, how it's going to be, and we miss the moment. You see? Okay, but let's go into it some more. So give it a definition that you feel. How do you feel? What is stress? What do you feel stress is?
Stress is where your thoughts are completely controlling you.
Very good. Stress is self-concern. Nobody ever put it that way before. But that's an exact definition of stress. Self-concern. And the reason it has never been given that definition before, it is because everybody thinks that they are a person. You see? So self-concern is a very natural thing, even considered healthy. As a matter of fact, I've met some psychologists, and I met them at UBC, who actually stated that, ego can be very, it's good to have a healthy ego. And of course there's no such thing as a healthy ego. Because in truth, you are that oneness itself. You are existence itself. You are so grand, so big that it boggles the mind. You are in truth a human being, a being playing the human role. You see, when we realize that, then what we call anxiety, fear, etc., will begin to fall away. So what we call stress is self-concern. Can we discuss in what ways self-concern shows itself in our life so that we get closer to the truth? And incidentally, there are some people that wrote me from the internet and they said, Burt, we really like it when people ask you questions or make some statements or interact with you, because then we can relate better. Okay, so I would love to hear what you have to say. Talk about yourself. Maybe how does self-concern come to you? How do you feel? What happens? What experiences?
Well, I think in this day and age there's a lot of unstableness in companies. So you don't know if your company will be here tomorrow, if you're working for someone.
Okay, so there's that insecurity, so you
Yeah.
become self-concerned. How will I earn a living, right? Okay, what happened? That's very good. Okay, yeah.
Well, I found myself all the time wanting to improve myself in some way, like in any kind of way, like playing basketball, how I can improve my jump shot or whatever, and it can be with anything else. How can I make more money? So it's always like striving for more and more and more, and that can cause stress and kind of self-concern. I'm so important and I need to achieve this, and it's just like a never-ending thing, and it can get very, it's just very stressful.
Very good, very good. Yeah, you see, this is excellent. We're never satisfied. We always want to be better, right? Why do we want to be better?
So we can survive.
Hmm?
So we can survive in this world.
To be more lovable.
Okay, yes, to survive, to be more lovable. It's true, because if we gain more, we're going to be better. And people will look upon us as better than, you see, which means a form of competition, a form of, competition. So you want to be better, even better all the time, accomplishing, okay? That is triggered by self-concern, you see? And that brings stress. We're never satisfied, we're never happy with the way things are. Why aren't we happy with the way things are?
Because ego is never good enough.
Very good. Ego always feels it is lacking something. Why do we get that feeling of lacking something?
Because what we want is not here right now. Like me getting my education, it's not here right now. So long as it's not here, I'm not going to be fully peaceful with myself or like content and just relax, because I need to strive for that. I need to get
right. Relax, content, that's what we want, right? Now we were talking about existence. Did you know that existence itself just is, like you said, and because of its isness, its contentment itself, its relaxation, its death, it just is. Therefore, when we are in that moment of isness, in that moment of just pure existence, we feel complete. We are complete. Because there's nothing to strive for, there's nothing. You see, what causes this competition is because I want to be better than. You see? Self-concern. That causes all the stress. But you can be the best when you stop wanting to be better. Isn't it a kick in the pants, right? Really, that's how it goes. You see, it creates a vicious circle. It's called the law of reversed effort. The moment we have self-concern or we try to achieve or be better, we create enough self-concern, which is stress, which is also bringing us down, because again, we limit. You see, self-concern is, I am self-concerned. You know, I don't see how grand I really am, how oneness I am with everything. But why is it that when we feel one, why are we afraid to feel one with everything, when in truth, oneness is our true nature?
Into the abyss.
Hmm?
Into the abyss.
The abyss, so oneness, it feels like an abyss, right? Why does it feel like an abyss?
Because you're going to disappear.
That's right. That is
correct. My God.
That is the greatest fear. And that's why, thank you for that, and that's why self-concern is so strong, because we don't want to disappear. But you see, since you're existing, and therefore you are existence, who is it that disappears? In truth. What is it that disappears?
Ego.
Hmm?
The ego.
The ego. What is ego?
The thinking that you're this.
the
The
thing
human.
that you're this. And what do you refer to this?
The body.
Okay, the body,
It's
Separateness.
the separate.
separateness,
Thoughts.
your conditioning, beliefs, and everything else. There's the sum total of who you think you are. You see, they don't go away. They don't have to, because they're unimportant. You know what is beautiful about existence? It is that it's nothing. It is nothing. Existence is nothing. God is nothingness. That is its beauty, and therefore it's complete, because you cannot take anything from nothing, and nothing appears as everything. Now some people say, well, I like the world, I like material things because I can touch them, I can feel them, I can hug them. Just like people say, I need love, I want someone in bed with me, I want someone that I can hug and hold. You see, which is alright, sounds very reasonable, but you see what happens is that when we begin to discover we are existence itself, you begin to feel that completion, because the existence itself is what we call in technology right now that which appears as the world. For example, did you ever notice, you know, you all use computers, right? You look at the monitor and you have done a video, or you have load up many pictures. Don't they appear real on the computer, on the screen? Mm-hmm. Don't they appear really real? You can see yourself dancing, moving, crying, laughing, running, okay, on video, and it repeats. Okay, now feel it out, please. Don't just take my word for it. This is something that your heart already knows. You see it. Is there anything there that's happening on the monitor but a signal, a small signal that appears as that photo, as that video? There's nothing there. It appears as if there's something there. You see? I'm making a video right now. Or I take a picture. Now there are digital pictures. You see what is digital? See? First there is nothingness. From that nothingness, of course, the waves. Everything is wave. Because nothingness does not mean a great void, an abyss. It just, nothingness means there is no thingness. Okay? It is not a thing. But from that nothingness comes everything that we experience. Everything. Everything that we experience, how do we relate it to nothingness? Everything that we experience. Did you know that everything that you experience in the world is not real? Mm-hmm. I didn't know that for 27 years playing teacher, until I had that moment that came to me, and there was no Burt, and I'm playing the role of Burt. You see? And it's quite something. It's quite something to realize. Ask any scientist, and we can go back to science now, because that's what he made a statement, there is no God, right? He's a scientist. Okay. All science will tell you that there's no such thing as matter. Matter is mass, said Einstein, which means it is just energy. It is atomic energy that has become a particle. A particle is what we call the digital photo. Okay? What are those digits? Pixels? Pixels, right. And you get millions of them, right? And you get a very good resolution, right? The more you have, the greater the resolution, right? So this is the life that we are living right now, seemingly very real, is the same thing. Is it made up of pixels? Well, in a way, yes. It's particles, it's wave energy. This room now contains the heavens, contains the sun, the moon, the stars, everything. Can we understand that? Because there is nothing separate from this moment now itself. If you right now, you have a sophisticated radio, and you can tune into Germany, you get a station from Germany right here and now. This means that the sound is here, isn't it? Mm. But you got a device such as a radio that says you are tuning into Germany, but all sounds are here. You know, there was a statement one time made, a professor at the university, and he said, if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one to hear it, does it make a sound?
No.
Does it make a sound? If a tree falls in the forest and there's no one to hear it?
No.
No, it does not make a sound, because sound is a sound wave that can only be heard when there's a reception, a tool to hear it. You see? So right now I could be in this room and I could have a dog with me, let's say, and the dog starts barking or very, very anxious, but I'm relaxed because I'm not hearing any sounds. But the dog hears 10 times more than I do. So is there a sound or isn't? For the dog, yes, because he's got the receptors to receive that sound. But I don't have that. I am not as sensitive in my hearing as much as a dog is. You see? So to me, there's no sound. So if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one to hear it, it doesn't make a sound. Unless there are sound waves, but there is no sound. In order to hear that sound, you've got to have the ears to hear it. But it itself doesn't make a sound. You see? It creates a sound wave searching for some tool, some reception to receive it. So therefore, our senses tell us the world is real. Our senses tell us that everything is matter. There are books up there, there's a wall, there's the people here. But in truth, this is all a play of mind. And it is something to realize. When we begin to realize that, then there's another dynamic comes into play. I am existence itself. You see? Everything that appears as existing, don't forget, has come from existence, which is nothing. It's a nothingness. So it has come from non-existence into existence and appearing as if it's existing. But in truth, it isn't really appearing. Oh, sorry, it is appearing, but it is not real. It is an energy that has that form. You see? Are you with me so far? Do you have any questions at all? Yeah.
Earlier I wanted to ask you about I wanted to ask you if it was either essence or structure or...
There is no structure to
yeah, exactly, that's what you're saying right now. And I got that. There is no... I mean, even structure that we see is not even there because it's just energy.
Yeah. So if something now this is very difficult. So really, I'm going to have you to listen to your own intuitive heart. So if there is nothing, absolutely nothing, let's assume you are in this nothing state. Okay, what can you experience?
Essence.
And who's experiencing the essence?
Essence itself.
Essence itself, isn't it? Because if you're not here and there is nothing, there is still the experience of essence. Because it's not the form or the existing thing that experiences the essence. Essence is, and it is called awareness. Pure awareness. And in the very nature of pure awareness, when the mind is totally quiet, empty, just is at the moment, we call it love. And love, of course, is happiness, is peace, because love is everything. It is that force, that power that gives us meaning. You see, we think having a big car gives us meaning, or $1 billion gives us meaning, or a big house gives us meaning. But why do we want these things? To give us comfort, to make us feel good, to make us feel at peace, to make us feel at home. You see? But the real home is this essence of love. Of course, I am saying this, and those of you who are hearing me are taking my words for granted. That won't cut it. I'd like you to feel it. What if there was nothing? And I'm completely empty. There is nothing. Nothing at all. How could I feel love?
You don't feel it. You would be it.
be it. Why would you be it?
Because it is love.
And also,
Is love.
okay,
Is.
so when you say love, how would you put it?
Well, I guess you'd really have to put aside the definitions that you know of love. Because it's not...
That's right. You put all definitions
I mean, there's so
aside.
many kinds of love. Actually, I was thinking about that today, like love of a man, love of a woman, love of a child, love of a flower. Like,
Yeah, feel it out. What is it really? You see, if you are totally empty, totally, so there's no you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you open your eyes and you look. And if you look and you're empty, there's nothing there, you're just here. Isn't everybody you see is yourself? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel it?
Mm-hmm.
It is you. See, when you are happy, what does happiness mean? Because happiness doesn't exist, love doesn't exist. It is existence itself. It is not a something you achieve. You're walking down the street, like for example, a person comes to you and he says to you, I'm feeling great. And this person is often complaining, but today I'm feeling great. What does it mean, feeling great? It means he's not feeling anything. He doesn't have aches. He doesn't have pain. He is not thinking anything. He's got no problems, no worries. He's not feeling any of these things. He just is. So he feels great. Right? Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
So are we beginning to see what God is? God is that nothingness that is pure joy, pure heaven, pure love. And it has nothing to do with an entity up there. It is who we are. It is our very essence. It is our very being. You see? So the more we forget ourselves, the more we move into. We don't move into anything, we're already there, but the more we experience our essence. When you're self-concerned, you've lost your essence. You haven't lost it because it's always there. The beautiful thing is that you can never lose your essence. You see? But at that moment, when you're self-concerned, you have confusion, you have perplexity, you have complication, you have, you name it. It's all there, called stress. You see? So when we talk about this great range of stress that is overtaking our world, that's what it is. Self-concern, and there is no self. There is no one.
And that self-concern seems to be the one thing, and that's the end of the ego. I mean, death. Right?
If there is no self-concern, the ego is seen to be non-existent. It never existed. In other words, it never was. See, ego is not a reality. Ego is an idea that we are separate. So everything that we do to enhance our persona. But the most wonderful thing when there is that awakening of spirituality is that you don't need to do anything. When the Course in Miracles says you need do nothing, people were very confused. What that means is that the essence does it through you. You know, the greatest works in history, the greatest, the most beautiful things, were all came through them. You know. What comes to mind is that beautiful poetess, Wentworth, was it her name? Wentworth?
Elizabeth Wentworth.
Elizabeth, yeah, and she wrote beautiful poetry, and she says, I never wrote anything. She says, all of a sudden I feel an urge to sit down, and she starts writing. Mm-hmm. And it comes through her. So this is what we mean when you really need do nothing but to be the isness, and then the isness will guide you. If you're without food, it will tell you exactly where to go. You don't even know why you're going there. That's happened to me many times, you know. I need something or I want something, and it comes to me, and then I surrender it and I let go. And then, without knowing, I have an urge to go to Banyan. You see? And all of a sudden I'm leafing through the information, and there it appears in a cover of a book or in a title or in an article, just exactly what I was looking for. The moment you surrender something, the moment you believe that your essence already is feeding you what you need, you see, it appears. You know, one of the most beautiful beings, and he was a Catholic, believe it or not, but he was a great being, Saint Francis of Assisi. You've heard of him? He wore a sackcloth. He walked down the street. He never worried about money. He never worried about food. And he was always living in joy. Because he discovered the essence. You see? There was another Catholic too. Because I was brought up a Catholic, so I did a lot of reading about Catholic saints. Because Catholic saints, they became saints despite their religion. As a matter of fact, Saint Francis was rejected by the Pope. And then when finally Saint Francis saw the Pope in person, you know, he wanted an audience with the Pope. The Pope had a look at him, looked at his dirty feet and his sackcloth, and he said, here I see a great being. And the Pope actually had tears in his eyes, and he admitted it. That here I am in front of a great man. And it was that confirmation actually that made St. Francis very... another one is St. Augustine. Augustine was a soldier. He was fighting battles, and he was sick and tired of war, and he was lying in hospital, injured. And the window was open, and a bird flew in, and it alighted on his bed. And all of a sudden, Augustine looked at the bird, you know, and as he looked at the bird, something began to happen to him. All of a sudden, everything became clear. And he followed this bird, and this bird just went out through the window again. And Augustine just followed him all the way through the window and everything else. And he's supposed to be so, you know, very ill because of the injuries of the war. Anyway, and later on he was called Saint Augustine. And he walked in the streets naked, nothing on, totally free. Because he discovered his essence is everything and everyone. He discovered love, in other words, you see? And it was that bird, it could have been a bird, it could be a flower, it could be anything, that it could trigger your essence. When you become empty, there are moments when you become empty. You see? Anything could trigger that knowing inside you, but the slightest self-concern, the slightest self-consciousness will keep you from seeing the obvious. You see?